This Power Rangers comic book review is created for and intended for an adult audience.
And maybe the person showed their mind since they showed their mind.
Look at how it looks like a nose on my face.
Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Comically Long review. Last time, we met a girl named Eri and her friend Pri, who's obsessed with superheroes after her mother seemed to be one. However, a twist of fate determines that it's Eri that gets the superpowers, leading to attention from multiple sources. Let's find out who gets to Eri first by taking a look at the rest of Star Ranger's Magical Space Cadet Squad.
Just one more thing.
Whoa, actually, hang on just a second there. Orange Ranger from the old studio. This is Orange Ranger from the new studio, and I do have a little update that I need to toss into this video. After part 1 of this video went up, I was speaking with the author, Diane Solis, and while she was very pleased with the video overall, there was one point that she wanted me to relate to you all. I had mentioned in part 1 about the character Priyanka, that she has dark skin on the alternate cover to this book, but inside the book itself, she has very light skin, and that point doesn't seem to come across. Miss Solis made it clear to me that this was not an artistic error. The character is actually drawn with darker skin throughout the book. This is an issue with printing, where a lot of the darker colors came out far lighter than she intended them to. It's unfortunate, but I just wanted to make that clear. Also, and this is really something I should have picked up on based on the character's name, but Priyanka is not in fact African American, she is Asian Indian. Alright, Sean from the old studio, now you can finish the review.
We rejoin things at the school the following Monday. Eri is exhausted, having spent all weekend attempting to transform, but nothing happened. She hopes Pri doesn't remember to talk about this. But of course she does, and very loudly asks about it. Eri embarrassingly admits that she wasn't able to, even saying that her family came to check on her after she got too loud. Then she realizes there's something weird inside her locker.
It's a pipe bomb! Yeah!
Pri says it might be a love letter, and Eri drops it in shock. Pri picks it up and just dives on in, reading the letter herself. She's very surprised by what it says. Eri is thrilled she might have gotten a love letter and her love life might finally be beginning, but Pri points out if this is a love letter, it's a weird one. You don't know me, but I know you. I know your every move and intention you have. Meet me at the dog statue after school. I will be waiting, and you will come if you know what's good for you. Eri thinks this sounds more like a challenge than a love letter, such as one that Asuka might make. They go to class, and Shu, such a dynamic part of the story to this point that I had to go back to the start of the book to check what his name was, asks about the letter. Eri goes to hand it to him, but Asuka snatches it. Eri fears that Asuka will use this chance to expose her to the class, and she sort of does, saying Eri probably used her little water tricks on someone again. Maybe that's why she didn't make a bigger deal of this. She thought it was some kind of magician squirting flour trick or something? However, Asuka did not write the letter, saying Eri should not fight whoever this is. Eri wonders who could have sent the letter if it wasn't Asuka. She wonders if it came from an actual villain. If there are superheroes, there have to be bad guys, right? She feels like even if there are villains, she's not going to be able to fight them. She already disappointed Pri by not being able to transform. She looks at Shu, staring forward blankly because that's his role in this story. They go to lunch and suddenly the day is almost over, Eri dreading the coming confrontation. The final bell rings and Eri is nervous, but Pri excitedly says they should get to the statue. Eri tries to think of a way to get out of this without coming up with a lie, such as not feeling well. However, she can't, so they end up at the statue. Eri tries to beg out, saying she does feel sick. It's not a lie now, she is actually feeling nauseous. And since the person isn't there yet, maybe they change their mind. Pri hugs her, saying it will be fine, and it can't be dangerous for some reason. It's going to be fine because Pri is there for her.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
We see an hour pass with nobody showing up. Eri feels like maybe Asuka did send the letter and this is all a prank to scare her and waste her time. But then there's a flash and a huge gust of wind. It's Kuroko, though they don't know that, of course, transformed as a hero. She says Eri is the least threatening person she's ever seen, but is surprised that she seems to have taken a hostage. She says it's clear that she doesn't know the traitor. Eri realizes this is who sent her the letter. Quick on the uptake there, Eri. And the two girls realize that this hero thinks that Pri is a hostage. They realize that this hero may think Eri is actually a villain, but she insists that she's not, explaining how the bracelet just appeared a few days ago and will not come off. The letter said she was being watched, she knows her motives, so she's got to know that she's not bad. The hero says that wearing the bracelet is no sign of being good. Bad guys get them too. Eri insists she's not evil, she doesn't even know how to use the bracelet. Kuroko considers it, but then screams to watch out. She deflects a sword with what I think is a watering can? Kuroko tells whoever it was to come out of hiding, and the girl does, saying she had a feeling she was too skilled for a sneak attack to work. The two clearly know each other, the mystery attacker calling Kuroko Cadet Stinky Green, and she responds that it's Emerald. The attacker seems to think Eri and Emerald are fighting over Pri, so she'll take her instead. She attacks, and Pri is tied up. She says she might return her later, and they teleport away. Eri grabs Emerald and says they have to go save her. Emerald says Eri can't even transform, and she begs to be taught whatever she has to be able to help. Emerald considers it and reluctantly agrees. She tells Eri to grab her star crest, the coin she found before, and yell the phrase, "Star Matrix on!" She puts in the coin, yells the phrase, and is transformed. She can hardly believe it, but Emerald snaps her out of it, saying she's on her own if she falls behind. Eri asks who that was and what she wants with Pri, but Emerald stalls on answering. Emerald chalks it up to typical villainry, painting the whole thing like a job she's rather bored with. The Stellar Black Empire kidnap people and release yokai. They fight the yokai and save the people. It's just their jobs. They teleport, I think, and end up somewhere, finding the attacker. She throws some capsules, releasing smoke, and a group of Wild West Zeo Red Rangers. They are only referred to as just zombies, and that's by Eri, so it's not clear what they're actually called. Eri is frozen in fear at first, but she thinks about what the heroes on TV would do and gets going. She pulls her blaster and fires a water attack, and it melts the zombies. Emerald tells her to keep it up and not to get bit. The zombies are dispatched, and they find Pri dumped behind a tree, alive. Emerald says the attacker was Usahime, and they got lucky because despite her saying that she might return Pri, normally the Empire don't return their hostages. Eri spaces out, and I'm kind of familiar with the feeling at this point, more on that later. Emerald decides to ask Eri some questions, giving her info based on her responses. The first question is how long Eri has had powers. She assumes it's been about as long as Emerald has been tracking her. She says that sounds about right, and that's the last question. Emerald tells her to forget ever transforming again. It would be way too dangerous for her to fight. Eri asks if she and Usahime have always been fighting. How can she know what Usahime wants? There's no answer to that, as Emerald has already left. As the two wonder about this, Eri spots something.
I wonder what Pokemon it is.
There's a crystal laying on the ground. Eri picks it up, but then realizes Pri is injured and starts helping her. They get back towards the school, Eri totally torn on whether or not she should listen to Emerald's warning, but then she realizes that Asuka is waiting at the dog statue. Asuka asks what happened, and Eri tries to throw her off, but Asuka can tell it's her, asking what she's wearing that costume for. In a nice subversion of tropes, when Eri asks how she knew, Asuka points out the mountain of evidence that shows who she is. Eri dumps Pri off on Asuka, asking her to take her home and running away. Asuka quizzes Pri about what the outfit's about, Pri just saying it involves her having powers. She thinks that the outfit is ridiculous, but that Eri did look kind of cool. Pri asks why she was waiting there, and Asuka thinks, not again. saying there was no real reason. Eri gets out of sight and examines the crystal. She thinks how she could ask Emerald about it, but she told her to give up the hero life, or Usahime, who, attacked her. She wants to give up, but feels like she can't, for Pre's sake if anything else. Kuroko sits on top of the academy, Fiona visiting her. Kuroko confirms the new girl is not part of Stellar Black, which Fiona says was pretty obvious. She thinks Eri did pretty well for someone with no training, but Kuroko punches the roof and it cracks slightly, saying that's insane. Eri was scared, nervous, and didn't even know how to transform. Fiona points out that they were all that way once, but Kuroko says now that they are trained, it's dangerous to try and add anyone else. They haven't had a single casualty since that day. Does she want that day to happen again? Kuroko says she understands that more fighters are better, but if those fighters aren't strong enough, they don't really add to the team. Fiona brings up Junko again, saying they don't do cadet work, so it should be fine. Personally, Fiona doesn't blame Junko for whatever it was that happened, not wanting anyone to go through what Junko did. But Kuroko says she went through it too, and she's not going to accept Hikawa, which I guess is Eri's last name. The book ends with something of a burn, as Kuroko says Fiona only wants Eri to join since she's just as weak. So then Kuroko would be babysitting 2 girls. With Time Strikers, I said that there wasn't quite enough story, things feeling a little bit simple in places. This book has almost entirely the opposite problem. We are swimming in story from the word go. This is classic Rookie Red storytelling, thrown into the middle of an ongoing situation with a character that's completely unfamiliar with it. That does work for the most part, however, there are some things that Eri is not privy to that still are left unexplained, probably intended as hooks for future issues. There are a lot of characters in this story. Within 66 pages, we are introduced to Eri, 2 of her friends, 3 bullies, a friend of the lead bully that is also a cadet, another cadet, Eri's mom, a friend of Eri's mom, and an evil girl. 11 main characters in the first issue, and then they're dropping hints to other characters like Junko, a cadet who may have also been a traitor, and then we need to figure out who this friend of Eri's mom actually is. That's why I made that little crack, and I hope it didn't come across as all that mean, that of Eri spacing out when Emerald was explaining things to her and saying I felt the same way. It's just a lot to take in. That is not at all to say that it's bad. It's just very thick, complex, and complicated. I'm really not sure if it was such a good idea to start things off with a triple-length issue. It does get the story to a sustainable point week to week, but you might notice the point where I split this story, the halfway point between 2 different videos, it felt like such a natural stopping point to this story. It leads from the beginning of a weekend to the end of the weekend, so it's just such a natural place to start another story that I really think these should have been 2 issues, which, funny enough, is also opposite to Time Strikers, where I said that those 2 issues should have been 1. There's some nice action in this, and the story is very interesting. The art is pretty nice for the manga style, though as I said, it is somewhat limited by the black and white coloration. There are a few moments of just regular old confusion, a few linguistic and grammatical errors, though not to any great degree. However, I will tell you my biggest issue with the book, and one that I do find a little more serious. As I said, we meet 11 characters in this first story. 1 of those characters is male, Shu, and he's pretty vapid and given very little to do. He feels like he's just there, kind of like somebody pointed out after a first draft that there were no male characters, so they just tossed one in. Now listen, I get it. This is a genre, magical girl, that has the word girl literally in its title. It's not so much that I mind that there's only one guy, I just think he needed to be given more to do. He could have been a source of emotional support. Keep the cadet stuff secret from him, of course, but have him support Eri anyway. Be that shoulder to cry on in a very trying time. This is an issue that I feel like would read a lot better after you get through issues like 5 through 10 or so, and you have a much more established story. Kind of like rewatching the first episode of Star Trek Picard and seeing the things that they were very clearly setting up on down the line now that you know what they are. Overall, an interesting and exciting story that gets kind of lost within itself. Star Rangers Magical Space Cadet Squad gets a 3 out of 5. Next time on a comically long review... Actually, you know what? I'm not ready to spill the beans on that just yet. I will give you a little hint, though. With no new comics for me to review, it might just be time for a blast from the past. That's going to wrap up another comically long review. Heroes, thank you so much as always for watching. Now that the video has concluded, you can click that thumbs up button right down below to let me know that you enjoyed it. And leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought of this 2-part review and of this story. What do you think of this Star Rangers? Would you like to see more of it? Again, like Time Rangers, I don't really get any direct indications that there are direct plans for follow-ups on this, but would you like to see more of it? If you would, go ahead and I'm picking up her card right here just so you know. But let Kagura's art know. That is twitter.com/KAGURAS_art. Go let her know over on Twitter. Same name over at Instagram or DeviantArt. And let her know if you'd like to see more of this. I would like to see this story continued. I do think it's a good story and would probably function a lot better within a 22-page kind of more confined arc. So that's my thought on that. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. Make sure you're staying safe. Make sure you're staying indoors unless there's something you absolutely have to leave the house for. And wash those hands. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. Last time, we met a girl named Eri, her friend Pri, who's obsessed with superheroes after her Last time, we met a girl named Eri, her friend Pri, who's obsessed with superheroes after her mother seemed to be one. We met Eri and her friend Pri. Let's see who gets to Eri first by taking a look at the rest of Magical Girl Space Fart Bagogajij. Last time, we met a girl named Eri, her friend Pri, who's obsessed with superheroes after her mother seemed to be one, and the word "and," which I keep forgetting to include in this take. We rejoin at the... Wow! Eri goes to hand it to him, but Asuka snatches They get back towards the school, Eri torn on whether she... The book ends with something of a burn, as Kuroko says that... Split. The book ends with something of a burn, as Kuroko says she only... The book ends with something of a burn, as Fiona... For the most part, it works, but there are some things that... Make him... dance.